Hi, I'm Stacy from the blog thefromscratchfarmhouse.com. Welcome to part 2 of my Plan Your Best Garden series. Today's topic is seed starting. We're going to talk about my affordable seed starting setup as well as my process for starting seeds indoors. If there are crops that you want to grow that need a bit of a jump start before you can safely plant them out in your garden in your growing zone, and you want to save yourself the expense of buying starts, or maybe the varieties you want to grow aren't sold as starts, then starting seeds indoors is your next step. The first thing you need to figure out is when you should be planting each of your crops. Now, I personally use a planner by Melissa K. Norris called the Family Garden Plan Planner, and I will leave that link below. But honestly, you just need a chart that shows how many weeks prior to your growing zone's last average frost date that you should be planting those crops. This planner has the chart in it, so that is super handy. But if you don't have the planner, you're also going to need some sort of calendar. And then you also need to know your last average frost date, which you can look up on websites like almanac.com. So once you know that date and you know how many weeks before that date the crops that you are starting should be planted, you can use the calendar to work backwards from your last average frost date to determine your planting date. I like to just write them all down for easy reference because I definitely have mom brain and would never remember all that. Okay, so the next thing you're going to need is your equipment. So before we get started, I just want to admit that yes, you can get scrappy here. You could use egg cartons or yogurt cups to plant your seeds. You could go take soil from your backyard and bake it in order to make it sterile. You could use inexpensive shop lights as grow lights. However, I'm going to say it, I'm not that person. I have 7 kids that I homeschool. I have several businesses. I have so very little time. And I have a feeling that many of you are in the same boat as me. So instead of getting scrappy, I just like to buy inexpensive supplies that are ready to go and I don't have to try to make do. I still consider my setup to be very affordable. However, I just wanted to throw that out there because I do realize there are cheaper ways to do it. Okay, so here is what I have.
This is a honeydew metal shelving unit from Menards, which was a total of $156.93. These are purchased in pieces so that you can customize how many shelves you have and how far apart they are.
In a previous video, I mentioned that these storage shelves were not as sturdy as I had hoped for a food storage setup. However, for seed starting, they're perfect because I don't plan on putting much weight on these shelves. I also plan to get another one to put right next to this one, and I will be getting the same kind.
The grow light I'm using is a 4-foot T5 Duralux grow light purchased from Amazon for $109.
Okay, I know from personal experience that choosing a grow light can be one of the most overwhelming parts of making a seed starting setup. I just want to share a few things that I've learned in my research to help you make your decision. First of all, yes, I know there are LED grow lights available on the market. So why did I not go with one of those? Well, I learned that with LEDs, the light is supposed to be, I think, like 24 inches above your plants. It might be 18 to 24 inches or something like that. But the point being, with fluorescent lights, your light is only a couple inches above your plants. This is beneficial because in a grow rack setup like this, I can fit way more rows of fluorescent grow lights and plants than I could if I had an LED setup.
If you want to save money on grow lights, I would highly suggest you don't go with a typical T12 shop light, but spend a few more dollars for a T8 light. And then for growing seedlings, you're going to want cool or blue light bulbs, which are about 6500 Kelvin. I actually plan to try this T8 setup myself in order to save some money, and I will keep you posted in a future video of how this T8 setup compares to my regular T5 grow light in performance. Now you may be asking, with that big of a price difference, why would someone upgrade for a T5? While researching this, I fell down a very deep rabbit hole of scientific data, but if I understand correctly, the amount of available and usable light for plants given off by a T5 is considerably higher. T5 are also more energy efficient, and grow lights are just built better for the purposes of reflecting the light back to the plants. Mine also comes with features such as plugs on the fixture for daisy chaining the lights together, or plugging in fans, and a switch that allows me to turn off half of the bulbs at a time. I also have these plug trays, 10-20 size flats, inserts of different sizes for my different size starts, plant labels, and humidity domes. By far the cheapest place I found to get these supplies was growersolution.com. I will leave their link below. You will also need a spray bottle for watering your seedlings. I want to add that I did not show my fan in this video, but I will be using an oscillating fan in this room to both circulate air and help produce stronger seedlings.
Okay, one more thing I want to point out is you will not see any germination mats in my setup. That is because after I sow my seeds, I'm going to put them on top of my 2 large freezers that are in this room, and that will be enough heat for them to properly germinate. No, they won't germinate as quickly as they could with a germination mat, but for me, that's just fine. Okay, let's chat soil. Believe it or not, soil is a very hotly debated topic in the world of seed starting. You should use potting soil. Potting soil is bad. You should be using a seed starting mix. Did you see the chemicals in that seed starting mix? You can't use potting soil. Your seeds will grow mold. Oh, I never use seed starting mix. I've used potting soil my whole life and never had a problem. Fertilizer is the secret. It'll make your plants grow. Fertilizer is bad for the environment. I just pick up what's at Walmart. Walmart? No, you need to go to a gardening center. Peat moss is the ticket. It'll make it so the roots can grow. Don't buy peat moss. That's a non-sustainable crop. You don't need nutrients in a seed starting mix. Never buy seed starting mix. It doesn't contain enough nutrients. You should buy organic, but not unlisted organic, only listed organic. Organic doesn't mean anything anyway. With all that said, no matter which side of the debate you fall on, there are some important things to keep in mind when it comes to soil.
First of all, use either a potting soil made for indoor plants or a seed starting mix, as these are both sterile. This simply means they aren't full of eggs that will hatch all over your house or diseases that will kill your seedlings. Second, be aware that just because the bag says natural or even organic does not mean the soil is approved for growing veggies organically. You would need an OMRI listed organic soil for this. Also, what a lot of people don't realize is that organic doesn't mean it doesn't contain additives. And I've been told by a few trusted sources that there are conventional chemicals that are known to be safer to humans than some organic approved substances. Wrap your mind around that one.
Okay, so it is March here in northern Wisconsin, and we need to start onions. So I'm going to bring you along and show you so that you can see my seed starting process. I'm just going to be using the top of my freezer that is in my cellar, but you can do this on any surface. This works out great for me though, because I'm actually going to leave my seeds right on top of these freezers so that they can gain that warmth so that they can germinate.
Okay, let's plant onion seeds. I am pouring about half of this bag of soil into a small garbage can. Then I'm just going to bring it to the sink and add some water, and then mix it in with my hands. You want the soil evenly dampened where it begins to hold together when squeezed, but not saturated. Then you're going to fill whatever inserts or tray you are planting in to about 1 inch below the top. For larger seeds, I would actually go to about a ½ inch below the top. And then with those larger seeds, I would press the seed down with my finger to the depth I needed, and then backfill it with my hand and tamp down. A general rule of thumb is to plant seeds at twice the depth of their height. Onion seeds, however, are very tiny, very hard to see, and don't have great germination rates, so instead I will be spreading the seeds as evenly as possible across the surface of the soil. And then taking some of the remaining dry soil, I'm going to lightly sprinkle a layer over the onion seeds. The fact that it's dry soil does you 2 favors. First, it's a different color, so it's easier to see where you have covered and where needs more. Also, dry soil is much easier to sprinkle on lightly as it doesn't clump together. Then you should go ahead and tamp it down so that the seeds make good contact with the moist soil. Next, you will take your spray bottle and evenly dampen the top layer of soil. You want it moistened through, but no puddles. Finally, you will cover the tray with a humidity dome, which will help your seeds germinate. Also, don't forget to label your seeds. These white tags or popsicle sticks work great.
If you don't have one of these humidity covers, what you can do is use some toothpicks in the soil and then place saran wrap over the top of that, and it works just fine. Once these starts have roots that you can see along the bottom of this tray, you can also start bottom watering instead of spraying the top, which will help prevent a lot of fungus and mold issues. So you'll just use a watering can and pour water down in this bottom tray, and that is a way easier way to water growing starts rather than trying to spray them evenly. Okay, that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for joining me for part 2 of my Plan Your Best Garden series. If you found this video at all helpful, please give me a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss my future content.